Really often, when we hear about something hopeful, we feel strange. I mean, we should feel good and right, but instead we feel scared and distrustful. Now, there are many reasons for why that is, but I found one cure for that feeling, and that is science. And so today I'll try to convince you of something truly amazing. But first, before I can convince you, I'll have to crush all hope. Because one day, the last human will be born. Whenever you are trying to figure out if something will happen, you have to multiply the probability of its happening by the number of times it will happen. So for example, if you are trying to cure cancer, with the probability of you curing cancer equal to 0.01%, and you try to cure it 40 times, then the probability of you succeeding at least once is equal to 0.4%. Now in human extinction case, probability is low. Really low. Let's just say that it's equal to some really small number p, which is larger than 0, because the probability of human extinction each day is extremely low, but it is still higher than 0, so let's just say it's p. Now we just multiply it by an infinity, because for each day that humans don't go extinct, we will continue living, which means if we never go extinct, we will continue living forever. And now we can see that no matter how small p is, or no matter how small the probability of human extinction is, humanity will eventually die out. Oh wow, that was depressing. But I did promise you something amazing. And so, because of that, well, now will be a time to show you why the aforementioned problem is not as problematic as you might have thought. And that's because of how functions and probabilities work. Let's go back to the curing cancer example. And let's say that the probability of the world finding a cure for cancer in the year 1997 was equal to something. I'm not a doctor, but we can still assume that it was equal to something. Then in the year 2006 it will be higher because of technological advancements and the world becoming a better place in general. Then it will be even higher for the same reasons in 2015, and then even higher in 2024, and so on. Now, understanding this bar graph is extremely important. It shows the probability of humans curing cancer in any 9 years, which means that if we were to divide into thirds, we would get a bar graph that shows the probability of humanity curing cancer in any 3 years. If we divide it into thirds again, we get the probability in a year, and so on. But it is important to note that each time the bars get smaller because the probability of humans curing cancer in 9 years is equal to the probability of humans curing cancer in every year summed together. But this leaves us with a problem. If we continue dividing those bars forever, the bars will eventually get down to 0. And that will mean that in order to calculate the probability of humans curing cancer in any instant moment, we would get a 0. So all of these zeros summed together would give us 0 times infinity, which is not a good idea. So instead we can change this bar graph ever so slightly by saying that the probability is equal to the area. And even though it might seem as if we changed nothing, now our bars don't get smaller each time, only approach a stable value. If we continue this forever, we get something called a probability density function, which has a really nice property. Alright, so that was a lot of animations, so let's just stick to the drawing for now to rest our eyes. This probability density function has a really neat property of defining the probability with the area. And well, yes, that is quite literally how we defined it, but what that means is that if we select a point A and calculate the area under this function up to point B, then we get the probability in a selected region. So, using this function, we can calculate the probability of humans curing cancer in between the 13th of February 2007 and the 13th of June 2017. And we can sidestep the really awkward 0 times infinity problem. Now, in order to calculate it, all we need is just an integral. So yeah, integrals are not actually that complicated because that's actually it. They just tell you the area under the function. That's That's the entire thing. Yeah, obviously, if you were learning calculus, you would learn how to compute integrals or how to solve equations, how to solve integrals. But honestly, that's kind of insignificant here. So yeah, I did kind of start the entire new chapter only to prank a couple of people because integrals do have a reputation for being scary. But that's it. That's the entire thing. Just area under this. Yeah, so that's the entire thing when it comes to the integral. So why do I think that humanity will not go extinct? Well, it's because humanity really doesn't want to go extinct. Shocker, I know, but what it basically means is that we will do whatever we can to not go extinct. So if we were to create some function for describing the probability of humanity going extinct, then basically we would say that the probability would be equal to the inverse of our technological advancement. And considering that the more advanced we are, the faster our advancement is getting, then that advancement would be exponential. Let's just say it will be squared for now. So now in order to take the complete probability, not the probability at a given instant, we have to take the integral from the beginning of time, which would be 0, to the infinity, which will be undefined. But right now we are not on the beginning of the universe. We actually lived through a significant portion of the universe already. So let's just say that there will be an integral from x to infinity. So now if we take a look at the graph of this integral, then we can see that the greater the x, the smaller the function. Which basically means the more we survive, the higher our chances of surviving in general. And if we made it past this line right here, then our chances are actually so good that there is a possibility of us never dying. Which means that if we survive till the 1, there is a chance that we will never die. Which is rather amazing. Before we go, there are 3 things still worth to mention. First of all, this is very much a made-up function. The actual probability of humanity dying will not be equal to 1 divided by our technological advancement squared. This is just an example, but it's a decent one. Second, we are working on an assumption that our advancement will always go down exponentially, which might not be the case, but at the same time, there is a possibility that at some point humanity will reach complete advancement where we will know everything there is. So yeah, for the part of the future where we can say that we will be more and more advanced, we probably will not go extinct, and after that we don't know. But we don't know is still pretty good, because that means that there isn't just 100% chance of humanity going extinct, only that we just simply do not know. So that is an improvement. And the third, which is not really a mistake, not really an assumption, only some people might get mad at me because I didn't normalize the function. But in order to normalize a function, you have to be certain that the probability of the thing that it's describing will happen 100%. And we don't know that, and because of that, I cannot normalize, because that's the thing we are trying to find out. So, that's it. Pretty neat thing to think about, actually, that we can defy our basic common sense. Even though infinity would mean that no matter how small the probability is, humanity should go extinct, our advancement could lead us to exist forever. It could mean that we would be eternal. Thank you all so much for watching, and have a great day. Bye.